Hello and welcome to the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Saturday the 14th of November of 2020. Tomorrow then will be Sunday the 15th, obviously, of November 2020. I wanted to welcome everybody aboard who's coming in on Rumble. I'm going to give you the first shout because you guys are the ones who have been really hitting my stuff a lot recently on my podcast. I'm not sure what's going on there. I haven't really gotten a way to get the metrics together, but I like the idea of the podcast, and I hope a lot of people are getting a chance to listen. I'm trying to make all of my stuff podcast friendly, and those of you who are checking me out on YouTube, which, as I say, is a far cry from the sort of activity that I'm seeing on Rumble these days. But anyway, I wanted to talk about a subject. The subject is information sources, right? And I wanted to talk about this in reference to a tweet by conservative talker Dan Bongino, in which he posts a video where one of the talking heads on CNN, and I'm not going to give you well, I'll give you his name. His name is Brian Stelter, right? And Brian is talking to somebody, and he basically says to that individual, "I don't like Parler," and they're going back and forth on this. I don't like Parler, and I don't know if you're familiar. Parler is a app that looks a lot like Twitter, but it's the thing that they're trying to sell, and I think that they're successful about this, even though I've heard people say otherwise, that they are censoring and banning people. I don't think that's happening, but that's what I've heard people to say. I think the truth will come out in the long run one way or another, but I don't think it's going to be conducive to the idea that says that they're doing that sort of thing as a rule. But anyway, so he's saying, I don't like Parler. And his reasoning for this is it's a, quote, echo chamber, right? He considers it an echo chamber, and so does the other person with whom he's talking. They're talking about it as a right-wing echo chamber. But here's the thing. Anybody who knows about Parler knows that anybody can join. And where I haven't seen a lot of left-leaning ideology on Parler, I don't think it's because it can't be there if they want to do so. I think they'll probably get piled on pretty heavy if they do, because what will happen is people on the right will actually take the time to, quote, fact check them, and not in terms of like putting fact checks on the actual posts on Parler, but in terms of commenting and so forth, or responding in not rumbles. I'm trying to think of the term that parlays, right? I think what'll happen is right-wing folks will carefully start to actually point out the problems with what's going on with a lot of what the leftist folks are saying, right? Here's the thing, okay? I am on Parler. I'm on Rumble, as anybody who knows anything about what I'm doing very well knows. And like I say, more people probably know about me on Rumble than anywhere else. Which is one of the reasons that I really support it. That I admit it, I'm selfish. I put this stuff out there, and I don't put it out there to be famous, but I do put it out there to be heard. I want to be heard. And I believe that Rumble, at least for now, is accomplishing that end for me. And I'm not going to tell you that I don't want any kind of success out of it. I'd really like for this to become my primary line of activity, right? But that having been said, I'm going to keep talking because I feel like I have things to say, and I think that they're important. That's why I do that. So anyway, so that to me is why entities like Rumble and Parler exist, is I don't feel like, I haven't had a problem with Twitter censoring anything that I've said. I'm going to be quite honest with you. I haven't had a problem with Facebook doing much but a very small amount of fact-checking of anything that I've said, and most of it was somebody else's stuff that I put back out there that I reposted. So that's not really what's going on. With me, I want as diverse a set of sources of information as I can. And by the way, I might point out that Dan Bongino, who when I talk about that tweet, wait a minute, it was a tweet of people from CNN talking. So it seems to me like anybody who tries to accuse somebody like Mr. Bongino or somebody like myself of being in some sort of right-wing echo chamber ain't paying good attention, because let me just make it very plain to you. The fact is, he's tweeting CNN stuff. just exactly how much of an echo chamber do you think the guy can be in? Okay. On the other hand, if you look at most of the stuff that they're saying on CNN in various places, what you're going to get is their stuff. And when they talk about anybody outside of their little bubble, they're going to talk about them from perspectives that are broken. And by the way, just as a matter of interest, they're often not going to quote people at all. And when they do, again, if you quote fact check what they say, what you're going to find out is what they quoted is not what was actually said or done. And this is definitely true for Parler and for Rumble, in my opinion. Look, I can put videos out there all day long, but so can people on the left as far as Rumble is concerned. I can put parlays out there all day long, but so can people on the left as far as that's concerned. I just wanted to say that it seems to me that if we're talking about people in echo chambers, lots of times, and I'm not saying this is nearly always the case, and I'm certainly not saying that this is the case for people who are not in the news media, who are not politicians. But if you look at people who are actually in echo chambers, I would argue that most of the people on the left who are pundits, who are politicians, are in echo chambers most of the time. I listen to a great deal of different stuff. I do. Some of it, I admit, I get through right-wing sources where they're quoting and citing things that are being said and done on the left. But what they do there is they literally video clip what's being said, right? So when somebody like Stelter says, Brian Stelter says, this is a threat to our democracy, it reminds me again of the narrative of these individuals, which first of all says democracy, not representative republic, right? One of the funny things about the U.S. is it was never intended to be a democracy. Yes, we have democratically elected leadership to some degree. Senate wasn't really supposed to be that way. It was supposed to be representatives appointed by the states. Presidency wasn't supposed to be that way. It was supposed to be electoral college, where the states again had their say in part of what was going on there. Judiciary largely is not supposed to be that way, though at a lower level there's a lot of voting for judges, but at higher levels the judiciary is a matter of appointment. So it's not intended to be democratic. About the only one that was intended to be initially democratic was the House of Representatives out of all on a national level, right? Now, these days, the Senate is elected, and I believe that to be a crying shame. I'll be quite honest with you. I know it's been that way for a long time. I get that. Electoral college winner-take-all, I also think, is a problem that moves a little bit too close to democracy for me. But the point is that here's Brian Stelter talking about the idea that this is some sort of threat to democracy, and I'm going, wait, do you not realize the more sources of information, the better off you ought to count yourself? And let me just tell you something. If you haven't at least checked out a video or two from people like Tim Pool, there's another guy, Bruce the Boss Brooks, I think. If you haven't checked out videos from these guys, Tim Pool and I disagree on things all the time, but the fact of the matter is I'm willing to listen to Tim because he's willing to lay out his case. And this is what I'm looking for when I search for information, and this is what I highly recommend you do as well. You may listen to Tim if you're very right-wing, and you may go, wait, what are you saying, Tim? And in the course of time, you may be persuaded to some of the things that he believes, and you may not. I believe that the success of right-wing talk has been because there have been people who have been absolutely hungry for information that they can't get in the mainstream media. I wanted to talk to you about the idea of the supercuts that you'll see a lot of people doing on the left. I forget there's one particular organization that Bongino likes to use for that. But these supercuts are people saying the same thing over and over again like they've been issued these talking points, and it's always the left that all of this is happening from. And this, to me, is a sign, boys and girls, that you're in an echo chamber. That's what that's a sign of. When everybody says the same thing, threat to the republic, or like I say, not even republic, threat to democracy, threat to democracy, threat to democracy, whatever it happens to be, if it occurs over and over again, particularly when it comes to main news stories, it shows you that people are getting their stuff from the same places. That's how you know. Okay, I'm running out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. What I would say to you is choose your news sources carefully, be diverse. Select a lot of different stuff. listen to what people are saying about one another, critiques of one person by another. That's a very important thing, because they will point things out and you'll go, oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that, right? And I don't care if it's left or right. You should always listen to one critiquing the other. That's an important thing. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up now. I hope to have another video out again on Sunday, the 15th of November of 2020. I'm glad you've tuned in. Again, thank you if you're tuning in on Rumble, if you're tuning in on the podcast or on YouTube. And I hope that you have a great day. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Saturday, the 14th of November, 2020. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for checking out this video. Remember that you can like it on YouTube and you can give it a rumble on Rumble if you want to do that. I have channels on both YouTube and Rumble. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels. You can subscribe to either one of those if you want to do so. Remember, if you subscribe on YouTube, you probably want to click the notification bell in order to be notified of new content. If you want to see more from me, you can check me out on my blog. That's blogs.kpschubert.com, blogs.kpschubert.com. You can also see my Facebook page. That is Kurt's Religion and Politics on Facebook. You can check out my Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com accounts. My handle on all three of those is at kpschubert. That's at kpschubert. You can check out my podcast. The podcast is at podcasts.kpschubert.com. That's podcast.kpschubert.com. And finally, you can check me out on Patreon. And if you want to support me, that's probably one of the better places that you can do that. I am Kurt's Religion and Politics there. Thanks again for checking out this video, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.